Hi, this is Bob from Hobby Concepts, and today I'm going to build this Grand Hauler Flatbed. I'm going to do a day cab conversion on a Grand Hauler. I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to add this RCP57 flatbed. We're going to install the battery in the chassis so it still has a full interior. Really great looking truck, turned out nice. Let's get started. So I'm going to start this build with a standard unpainted Grand Hauler kit. I built a zillion of these, obviously, and several on YouTube. So what I'm going to do is I'm not even going to show building the chassis. I'm going to build the chassis completely stock, and then we're going to talk about doing the flatbed truck. So I've got the Grand Hauler kit. I've got a completer kit, which is the radio, the speed control, the ball bearing set. I'm going to put a 55 turn motor in it, and then I've got the flatbed conversion kit from Reg at RCP57, and I'll talk about that more a little bit later. So as you can see, I started out the build by just building up the stock Tamiya Grand Hauler chassis. Nothing that I haven't done on video before. And if you need to know how to build the chassis, you can just watch one of my videos, Grand Hauler for Novices, and it shows you how to do the whole thing. And there will be some links in the description. So, I want to talk about the flatbed. Now, I've got two major things to do to this. One is install the flatbed, and then the other one is to make a day cab. And so we're going to go through both of those. First off, I want to take a look at the components of the bed. Now these come from RCP57, and I will put a link in the video description down below, but you can find them by going on Facebook and just searching RCP57. So it comes with three components. The first one is this rear brace mud flap back end, and this piece mounts in here, and it just replaces that mount right there. Okay, so that's the first one. The second piece, and I haven't opened this yet, I just got this in from him. He also makes dump truck dump beds and the car hauler rolling beds. Okay, this is a headache rack. This is a different headache rack than the rollback trailer. It's one solid piece. Wow, it is heavy. Just a big piece of machined aluminum, a couple bolts in it, and then the bed itself. I'll tell you, Reg does beautiful work. His things are always amazing. Okay, and there's the flatbed. Ooh, that's going to look cool. So the flatbed it's got some nice tie down points here that are actually have the ability to flip up or down. The frame is just designed to sit right over the Grand Hauler frame. It looks super easy to mount. These just kind of clamp, two clamps here, and there's two bolts that hold this clamp down. The frame will sit right in there, and then this thing just goes over it and clamps it, so you can kind of adjust it back and forth. And it's got all the tail lights, so it has a nice selection of turn signals, brake lights, backup lights, marker lights, and then this will fit up underneath here for the mud flaps. So you do not use the stock fenders, you don't use the quarter fenders, you don't use the stock mud flaps. You use these mud flaps that come with it and that bed. So that's what the bed looks like. Obviously this just mounts to the bed with these screws up through the bottom. So pretty straightforward to mount there. I am going to go ahead, since I now know what is in this kit, and mount the fuel tanks on here, and probably the tires and wheels. And then we'll go to work on the day cab part. So I took the chassis with the front bumper mounted tank, side steps, and RCP's rear mud flaps. The bed just clamps on, so that's pretty straightforward. Now what I've been thinking about are two things. One, the body, how to get the body prepped. And two, where I'm going to put the battery as I go to work on it. So let's start with the body. So the body, basically we're going to make it into a day cab, and we're just going to take a razor saw here and simply saw the sleeper off. So I will saw that off and then I'll come back. So I've got the sleeper sawed off, and I've decided a couple things. First off, I'm going to use a light bar on this truck. I just think it looks good with the flatbeds. So we will install a light bar on it. In order to do that, I'm going to permanently glue on this hatch here and fill all these holes. To do that, I will glue little pieces of plastic, like on the back sides of these holes, and then fill them with putty. So, and then get all that sanded smooth, and then it'll be placed to install a light bar. And the second thing I have to do is make a rear hatch, and I will take the stock rear hatch and cut it down. I'll show you how I do that, so that it fits on the back of here, and we'll have a nice day cab. Okay, so what I've done here is I have glued little pieces of plastic on the inside of the body to cover the holes. You can see I glued a piece of plastic here so my wiring will run down in the corner, and I glued some more pieces of plastic in the holes to kind of fill them up. Now I'm going to use some sprue goo to fill the holes. Now sprue goo is, I love this stuff. What I do is I take a bottle of Tamiya, you can see it's kind of runny, you can mix it however you want. So I take some Tamiya cement, and then I take a half empty bottle, and then I drop pieces of sprue, this plastic here. I cut them in little pieces, drop it in there, let it sit overnight. It makes this gooey, messy stuff that's basically styrene plastic. So when the glue evaporates, it just leaves the styrene plastic, and I'll have to put probably a couple of times on here because it does shrink a little bit as it dries. But oh my gosh, this is a great putty, and just fills in all these cracks and stuff really well. So I'll go ahead and be filling these things with sprue goo, and then when they're done, I will wet sand the top of this body to make it smooth, and I'll wet sand this back area where I clipped off the pieces of plastic and make that smooth. So that's how I make a day cab. It's really pretty easy. Now I'm going to show you next how I cut the back panel. So for the back bulkhead, I have discovered that if I cut it just outside this hole, just draw a line on it here with an X-Acto knife. And snap it. That gives me 1/2 of my door. And then what I'll do is measure and cut the other half and then glue them together. So I've got them now the correct width and they fit in here just fine, but I need to cut the height. So you can see that I already cut this one a little bit shorter, and the way I do that is I bolted the floor in and then I just slide this into place and mark it at the bottom edge of the floor, and then I use my little square to cut it. And I do it the same way as everything else. I score it with an X-Acto knife and then break it with a snap. So now I'm the correct height. Now I'm going to glue these two together, and I took the extra piece that was left over from cutting that, cut a 1/2 inch strip out of it, and what I'll do here is just glue it on with a 1/4 inch sticking out. Gotta love this Tamiya plastic cement. It is just awesome stuff. I've mentioned this before, but it works by actually melting the plastic together. So it works best when the plastic doesn't have any paint on it. Put this one here, line up the top is the most critical. And then we'll just put some more glue on there and on the back side. And before I get too crazy with doing things with this, I'll let it sit for a little while. And there's my rear bulkhead. Now there is a seam showing right here. I could fill that with shoe glue and then polish it out, but probably what I'll do is glue a thin strip of plastic over the top of it to cover it up. Now, as far as holding this in, let me show you how I do that. And first I'm going to remove this floor. I glued a strip over the seam, trimmed off the bottom and made it smooth. The way I hold the bottom is I take one of these plastic, this is a rear bumper cover from a King Hauler, I have piles of them, so I just cut it into an L shape, and you can use anything for this, and then bolt it on the floor plate so it forms a little channel here that this will sit in, and then I just bolt it on. So you can see I drilled a couple holes here, I'll bolt that on, and then this will drop in, and the regular Tamiya latches will hold it, and it'll latch on just like it did on the back of the cab, and that way I can open up the back of it. Now with the flatbed truck there's going to be a headache rack here, so it's not like I can open it to get a battery in and out, but I still like to have it be able to open up. So I temporarily mounted the floor just to kind of be able to get the body in place here a little bit, just kind of see what things look like. And it's going to go something like that, and then my bed is going to go something like this. So I like the looks of that, but now here's the issue. I have to be able to get a battery into here somewhere. Now with this solidly mounted down, I can't get into the back side of the cab, I have seen people who actually slide a battery in through the grill, possibly make the grill hinged or removable. Not a bad theory. The only thing is, in the future, I probably want to install sound and lights in this truck, and so I want to leave the cab available for a speaker and a sound system and a light system. So what I think I'm going to do is put the battery here underneath the bed, and I'll load it in from the bottom. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to remove this brace here. So I will go ahead and take this out, and then I'll figure out some way to be able to slide the battery up underneath and hook it in. I think that'll work pretty good, and it's out of the way for any future expansion. So what I've done, I just flipped the truck upside down, set this bed in place. It's not latched in or anything, just to see what kind of room I had, and it's pretty easy to drop a battery in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these Tamiya battery hold downs, and I'm going to mount them into the frame. They happen to be the exact correct width, and so I'll put two of them down here with the pins that'll swing out of the way and then get the battery out. And then to hold the battery, there's a brace in the bed here, and I'll just mount an additional one of these like in this area to give my battery something to keep it from flopping around that direction. And that should be super easy. Just put the battery in, put a couple clips in, and it'll store it. I may have to make something to keep it from going this way. It can go back against the back cross member, but once I get it bolted in, I'll see how tight it is, and I may have to make a little brace or something in here just to keep it from moving. But that solves my battery problem. I'll go ahead and mount some of those things and see what that looks like. I've got my little brackets mounted. They just swing out of the way. The battery will just sit in here, and these will swing over just like they do in the standard truck, and the clips will hold them on, and that makes an excellent battery holder. It's actually in there pretty good. I put a piece of foam on the bottom side of the one up here, and I'm really happy with that. Now I got my battery out of the way. I can put a full-size normal battery in there. All I have to do is make sure I route my plug down underneath the truck, and the whole cab is open to do whatever I want. Yeah, that turned out pretty slick. I could actually go ahead and mount this right now. These little brackets just go over the frame and clamp on with screws, but I'm going to leave it off for now just because I want to kind of see how the cab goes on. Actually, pretty easy to do this. You can see I mounted my speed control just on top of the servos with some double sticky tape and extended the wires so my plug is down here in the bottom. For the receiver mount, what I'm going to do is I made a little bracket, a little L bracket with a hole in it, and that will mount under the bolt that holds the floor down, and then I will stick the receiver in like that, and I won't need any extensions here. I can tuck my antennas underneath here, so that really hides everything and it gives me a full interior in a day cab. So I'll go ahead and mount this down, and then we'll go back to work on the body. As I get moving along on this Grand Hauler, you can see that I've cleaned up the top, got some primer on it, and I painted the sides black because I decided I'm going to go with black stripes and a yellow body. And so what I'll do is I'll mask off what I want to stay black, reprimer everything, and then shoot the yellow. I've got, of course, I'll carry the stripes across the back plate, and I've drilled holes for a light bar up here in the top to replace the horns and lights, just because on the flatbed truck I think these light bars look really good. I painted the light bar semi-gloss black. I also de-chromed the grill by soaking it in super clean and painted it with semi-flat black. And I did the same thing with the, if I can find it here, with the visor, semi-flat black. So I kind of blacked those out. I think those will look pretty good. So we're going to go with the yellow and black. I will get masking here. So I got my my body all painted. Turned out really nice. The back panel. And as I mentioned, I blacked out some of the pieces of trim. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the body together. There is absolutely no secret to how this goes together. It's exactly the same as a standard Grand Hauler. So I'll get the exhaust and all the little bits and pieces on it, and then we'll see how it looks on the truck. Well, and just like that, it's done. I mounted all the accessories to the body. Painted the intakes on the grills, and turned out really nice. It looks great. I love this bed. RCP does a great job on these. I talked to Reg, and currently as I shoot this video, these are $450 plus shipping, and you can contact him at RCP57 on Facebook, and I'll put a link down in the description below. Now, the one thing that I did that was pretty cool on this was this battery box. And another thing nice about these beds with this headboard, the truck just sits like that, so it makes it super easy to get the battery in and out. Which I like, and the battery's completely out of the way. So because of that, it has a full interior, which is pretty slick. And yeah, I like that battery mounting. That turned out really good. So I can turn on my radio here and plug this in. And you can see my light bar, which is I can, every time I flip this switch, I get a different function on the light bar, including off. So that looks really nice. Now there's no other lights in this truck. Obviously I could mount a Tamiya MFC or other lighting in it, but I wanted to build it just as stock. I'll move my mat out of the way. We'll get a few better pictures of it. So there we go. Tamiya Grand Hauler with a day cab conversion and an RCP 57 bed. Other than that, it's completely stock. I de-chromed a few pieces and painted them in a semi-gloss black. I mounted the battery underneath. Painted it yellow. Yellow is a hard color to paint. It does not cover very well with black stripes. And it's a pretty bright paint job. I think it's pretty attractive. So, and of course, typical Tamiya truck, it runs great. Got my, pick this up here, my throttle. My shifting is right here. So forward, reverse, 55 turn motor, so it runs nice and slow, has a lot of power. Looks really good. I love the looks of these trucks with this day cab. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up. I appreciate those. They help with the YouTube visibility of the videos. Please subscribe to the channel. Be doing more Tamiya trucks in the future for sure. We'll see you next time.